we got a pop. Alright, so I guess this is the beginning of this build. What we got here is a 372 50mm bore pop-up. Bearings in there, that shaft's in there, or whatever that's called, on a P-41. Now, the only kind of problem with this setup is, see that gap? Now, the piston is at top dead center. And as you can see, you know, it's kind of hitting the top. So, I cut this out of an old 41 cylinder. And look at that. I mean, obviously it doesn't slide underneath it because there needs to be some room for the squish. But once that's in there, I think it'll be close enough to the numbers I want. I'll find out. Okay, so this is the cylinder that I first used to mock it up. Partly because, if you can see that right there, it is very scored and just non-repairable. So after I got the basics and I was like, oh shit, this can actually work, I have another cylinder that is not scored. And honestly, this is off of the Spicy 372. I got a new top end for it. I decided to go big bore of that saw, so I just took the old cylinder off of that and the piston. So it's the engine from the Spicy 372 going on my P-41. So yeah. So basically, so far, I got this made, which is cut out of the bottom of this jug, which was to a farm saw. It's not scored, but I really fucked up the exhaust groove, so it just kind of shot out fireballs. It never ran. Now, I'm sure there is a way to fix this, but I mean, it's not like if I put it on eBay, anyone was gonna buy it for more than $5. I would have to pay more just to ship it out to someone, so it's not really worth anything to me. So I cut the bottom of that off. I cut out the sleeve. So this will go over top of the piston. And I had to cut it out so the piston would fit in it, since it's a 50mm piston and not a 46mm piston. And then we got this. Hold on. And now we can just put this on. Maybe. There we go. So that on top of there, and that on top of that. And look at that. We can spin it freely. Now, I'm gonna have to take a squish reading because I can add gaskets to the bottom of that, the spacer, and the bottom of the cylinder to raise it up if I need to. Or just put one and then base gasket. So I have some playable room to play with the squish. Now the next hard thing that's gonna be for me is to plug this. I'm not sure. Maybe I could cut a little plate that goes in there and then use a torch and maybe weld it around it. Shit, I might just try JB Weld. I mean, fuck it, it's a project saw. Another update. Everything is bolted down. The cylinder is bolted down to the bottom of it. Got the oiler on, clutch, flywheel. Now, there's a small gap in between the spacer and the transfers. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe. I got some JB Weld high heat. I was gonna try that stuff out first, just to see how it did before I wanted to weld it, because I don't know, I've never welded with a torch before and I'd hate to just melt right through it. But overall, this is turning out pretty damn cool. All right, got another progress update. I did the transfers, opened them up so, you know, the fuel can actually go through them. I kind of ran out of Dremel bits, so I used an angle grinder to kind of dig down on the cylinder. Once I get some more Dremel bits, I'll open it up more. But for now, I want to get the JB weld on. So yeah, I'm going to do that now. Alright, well, I got the JB weld on. I smeared it on the spacer and pressed it down. And then I used some JB Weld high heat epoxy, like the Play-Doh stuff. And I just, well, first of all, I smeared it in there to kind of block off the intake, because, you know, it's a reed saw, it doesn't need an intake, or at least not there. Will that work? I don't know. Will I find out? Yep. I also opened up the transfer some more on the spacer. I still need to clean up the cylinder side of it, like in there, smoothing that out. But yeah, I mean, there's JB Weld everywhere. There's no holes. Sealed it all the way around. This epoxy stuff almost matches the color of the cylinder, so maybe it was meant to be. But I'm gonna let it dry for a couple days, and I mean, yeah, I guess just see what happens. I'm not expecting it to work, but I mean, that would be pretty cool. And if this doesn't work, then I guess I'm just gonna have to weld it. I don't know if a TIG welder would work on this if you use the right rod, but I mean, hey, I'll find out. I also put some windows in the piston. Now my thoughts on that was that it's not like this anymore, or a 372, where the gas goes through the side and then up through the holes. The transfers are right here, like kind of like a steel, I guess, where there's no like slot for it to slide up. So my thought was that it would go through the piston, well, not all of it, but most of it, and help the flow of that. I also drilled a hole on the hot side to maybe it'll get some gas through that hole and against the cylinder wall. And I mean, obviously it's a 2-stroke, so there's oil in the gas, so I mean, that's my thoughts, that it'll get more oil on the cylinder, because I'm trying to get some RPM on this bitch, and I don't want it seizing up because it gets too hot, so I put that there. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, I'll find out. That's what this whole build is, pretty much. Just doing something, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But, yeah. Progress. Well, getting that coil to work was a pain in my ass, but it does work. Let me see. Hold on. Now I'll take this off so you guys can see what it took to actually make this work. Now building this plate was kind of a pain in my ass. It's 20 gauge stainless. I had to obviously measure the bolt holes, cut it, measure that so it lined up with this mount up here. But basically 3 points of contact is good enough. 2 just to hold the coil on. Now the hardest part was as you can see, it's the older style where this goes on the flywheel and then this attaches to that, and that's what produces the spark. Now I didn't know that there's a difference between this kind of setup and this kind of setup. This does not work for this coil. I tried it, it just wouldn't. But this other flywheel that is off of a farm saw does work for this coil. But there's a difference there too, because they have these little sprockets here that come out, and there's this plastic piece that slides and clicks into it. Now they're really stupid because they're really brittle and they break easily. So in order to have this mechanism work that came off of this flywheel, I had to grind down all the fins and grind down 2 of the fins back here. So this would work for the recoil cover. Now, it does work. So this whole thing is done, which I'm very glad about because it sucked. But now I have to cut out the middle of this so I can still put a pipe on it after. Well, I kinda got this part figured out. I'm definitely gonna remake this piece, make it come down farther, and have it wider on this side so I can bend it up and then mount it to here as well. Because right now it's not the most stablest thing in the world. And I forgot the pipe went down a little bit, so I mean, not the end of the world. I have plenty of mounting room here. So actually, I'll probably even get a thicker piece of metal than this, so it won't be as bendable. But it's a start of it. She's getting done. Well then, look at this. It's a strange P-41. Now, it is not ready to run yet. I still need gas lines. I need to seal the cylinder to the base, exhaust gasket, hook up the throttle linkage, choke, etc. But all the fabricating and mock-up work is done. Everything is bolted together. Everything works. We have spark. We got a carb. We got an engine. I am so pumped. And I redid this one like I said I was. This is the old one. As you can see, it's a lot thicker on the sides, so it's way more sturdy. And I went with, I think that's 16 gauge instead of 20, so it's a little bit thicker metal too. That'll help things out. But god damn, it looks like a slightly modified P-41 from this angle, and then you turn it over and you're like, what the fuck? Well, the day has come, I guess. I'm gonna tear it apart, seal everything, and hook up all the little shit. Now, for those who are wondering how much work you have to do to the cylinder, a lot. Like, in order to get the farm saw coil to fit, look how much I had to take off of this. Of course, you have to trim these down. I had to trim these fins here so that the coil would fit. Obviously, block the intake. That's just JB Weld. So is all of this, but I mean, y'all already know that. I mean, other than that, it's not too bad. As you can see, transfers. Definitely gonna smoothen all this out before I put it together. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm not gonna film me putting it back together because just watch the video in reverse. But yeah, I'll pop it when it's all done. And for anyone who is wondering how I get things flat, I guess, that's not a divot, that's just a stain. But piece of sandpaper, flat piece of wood, staple it to it, set it down. Nice firm 2 hands. Voila. Nice and shiny. Well, it's all put back together. Sealed everything. put gas lines in it, hooked up the throttle and the choke. So I guess at some point I'll put some gas in it and just pull on the cord a couple times. Like, I don't know what to expect. I'm not 100% sure that this will work, but you know, I have faith. Well, I guess the time has come to see if this will even start and run. So I'm gonna go put some gas in it, and yeah. All right, well, not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high because this is a new concept. No one's really done it before. I mean, Iron Horse, of course, talked about it and gave me idea because the piston works on this saw and the cylinder is a workable distance, but everything else I just did on my own. So I have no idea what to expect, but hey, let's see. Wow. A lot of compression. Oh, we got a pop. Oh, well, I think the timing is off because it is backfiring like a motherfucker. Well, I have a theory. Either one, the timing is off because I'm not sure if it matters where the coil is positioned on it. Like, say you have a coil on the side of the flywheel and you move it to the top. Does that also change the timing? Like, I'm not sure. Please, someone answer that question. Ow. Fucking Christ, man. Oh. And I'm not really sure what the name of it is when you pull on it and then all of a sudden it just yanks the cord back or it just stops altogether. I don't think it's called a backfire, but it's doing that very bad. So whatever the fix is for that, I need to do. So I gotta do more research. There's something else I wanted to do to it. Oh yeah, and I think I'm going to open up the transfers more, raise the lower, so I guess it's higher because it's going towards the top of the cylinder. So I'm gonna do that, see what happens. All right, so I did some research, and yes, the timing is off of the saw. That is why it's aggressively kicking back. So I might, I think I'm gonna put the old cylinder on, not to run obviously, but just to mock up to see where exactly the coil goes, and then I'll Sharpie on the saw where the coil goes. I might have to make a new coil mount, which kind of sucks a little bit, but whatever. I mean, it's to be expected. I didn't really think I'd get it right the first time. That would just be pure luck, and I don't have that much of it. So but yeah, I'm gonna take the cylinder off that is on the saw, like the 372 cylinder. I'm gonna open up the transfers more, try and get some more fuel in there, and then redo the timing, aka reposition the coil so it's in its proper spot. But yeah, that was the first test of the P-74. I hope no one was expecting it to run right off. I wasn't. I was hoping it would, but I had doubts. All right, well, I'll post another update video once I get the timing figured out. I'm probably just gonna upload the video once the saw is running, so it's not like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 of trying to get this to work. So who knows when the next time you'll see it, but it'll be worked on.